Our moderator this evening is Tamika R. For the last 2 decades, Tamika has been a public health practitioner working on food and agricultural policy and programs locally and internationally. As a culinary creative artist by night, she's worked in agro-ecotourism, a culinary event producer, and as a chef instructor for thousands of youth and adults across New England and the Caribbean. Her work has been featured in Edible Boston, Movable Feast, Eater Boston, and as a talent with WBUR's curated cuisine series and a speaker for brands like Toast. Thanks so much for bringing your expertise to tonight's event. Of course, our author this evening is Elle Simone Scott. Elle is a trailblazer who manages to make food both stunning and approachable. Elle is an executive editor at America's Test Kitchen. She shapes the visual aesthetic for Cook's Country and is an on-screen test cook for America's Test Kitchen and host of the Walk-In podcast. She's appeared on the Food Network Magazine, the Cooking Channel, and the Katie Couric Show, to name a few. She's also been featured in stories in the Boston Globe, Forbes, Eater, and NPR. Tonight we're here to celebrate the release of Elle's newest cookbook, Food Gifts, 150 plus irresistible recipes for crafting personalized presents. Food fosters connection, and there's no more meaningful way to connect with others than to give a personalized food gift that you've prepared and packaged yourself. Elle turns her considerable talents to expanding the boundaries of what food gifts are and when they can be given, proving along the way that food is one of the best and best looking gifts that you can give. You'll also learn Elle's favorite ideas for keeping food gifts fresh and packaging items cost effectively, yet creatively using edible garnishes, thrifted tableware, canning jars, cellophane bags, parchment, and more. With her expert help, you'll never again resort to an expensive and personal store-bought basket. Please join me in welcoming Tamika R. Francis and Elle Simone Scott.
Oh, here.
Mic check 1, 2.
We're on.
I would like to say it all. Thank you so much for that intro, and thank you all for being here. Oh, a little closer.
Yeah.
Hey.
Hi, friend.
See, we said the same thing. Elle, I'm not a one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's just start the conversation. So, this is her name, Tamika R. Francis.
Elle Simone Scott.
And let's start the conversation about learning a little bit more about you.
Okay.
I know there's a bio, but I think I'd like to dig into who you are and what brought you to food.
Okay.
Your journey there, your work, and then dive into this book in particular.
Sure, that sounds good.
So I like to ask a question: what does home taste like for you? What's the story, the memory that shaped your food experience and your food story?
Oh wow, I love that question. You know, it's my favorite. Home tastes like, for me, so many different delicious dishes, right? I come from a family of really good cooks, and my running true joke is that I'm not the best cook in my family. I'm just the only one who does it professionally. So I've been eating good my whole life, you know, like, and everyone has something that they're good for. So home to me tastes like my cousin's rendition of my grandmother's mac and cheese, or my mother's rendition of my grandmother's fried chicken, and so on and so forth for different family members. So home just tastes so good. Even now when I go home to visit, it just tastes so good.
So it's intergenerational, but where's that place? Is it Boston, Brooklyn?
Detroit.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Midwest?
Midwest. I grew up, when I was growing up, back in the day, in the late 70s, early 80s, our neighborhoods had like fresh fruit stands, you know. I didn't really know what a food desert was, and I'm probably very fortunate to say that, but, and you know, and growing up in the Midwest, we spent a lot of time going to orchards and picking our own beans, you know, like going out to source, you know, fresh grown food. And, you know, we could buy it from the market, but my great-grandmother used to really believe that it's a different experience when you pick your own beans and when you pick your own apples, you know. And we did a lot of that. We go to Canada, you know, Detroit is very close to Windsor, right? So we go to Canada. I just had a really interesting growing up around foods and fresh foods, and our relationship with food in my family was very much communal, right? Like, it was when we would get together to solve family problems.
During a meal.
Yep, during a meal. We solved many a conflict picking greens, you know. That was just, that was the way it was. When we
Right.
needed to fix a thing, we had a meal together. And so food has so many important layers for me beyond just sitting at a table and consuming a meal. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm also hearing this intergenerational and matriarchal, right?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe you just haven't mentioned the gentleman in your family, but so far you've been saying your grandmother, your mother. How have those folks shaped you and who you are right now?
Well, I do come from a largely matriarchal family. Like, I can't remember the last time a boy was born in our family. It's definitely been 30 plus years.
Wow.
Every girl has a girl, and like my oldest cousin is a grandmother. She's a mother of 4 girls, and she's a grandmother of 6 girls. So our family is, is very matriarchal. So I mean, I think that maybe that plays a role indirectly. I'm not really sure, but the men could eat. They could eat. What's really interesting is that my grandparents divorced long before I was born, but my grandfather kept a garden in the backyard of my grandmother's house. He grew an apple tree. Yeah, but he would come and pick all the things from the garden. He put them in the kitchen window for my grandmother to cook or use. Yeah. And so that was even their relationship. And I asked my grandmother, I'm like, y'all have been divorced forever. Why is he still over here for Sunday dinner?
But she's caring for food.
Well, she said, our relationship was one that we promised each other as we got older that we would continue to look out for each other no matter what, right?
And food was her medium.
And food was her medium.
And his too, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. So you're the only professional cook. Take us to the story of how you arrived at the profession of culinary artist, chef, entrepreneur in this space. How did you arrive here? What was the deciding factor?
Fate, really. I was a social worker for many years. My degree is in human services. And in one of these many great recessions we had back in the day. Yeah, and this was probably like number 2 in my time. Right. And the agency I worked for lost their funding. And I was always moonlighting at a restaurant. Like my very first job was in a restaurant at 16. I was a server at a restaurant called Olga's Kitchen. And it is only Midwest brand. And they serve like Greek style, right? So you could get what's it called? A gyro, right? Gyros and things like that. And so I think it was then that I actually fell in love with hospitality because I always kept like a night job at a restaurant.
You're front of house. You weren't in the kitchen yet.
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. I didn't go into back of the house until the agency lost their funding, and I was like, oh, I need more work. And the guys who worked the line, all men, they would let me come in and help cook family meal. So they convinced the manager to allow me to work as a prep cook. So that was how I actually started. 2 sisters who were Guatemalan sisters taught me everything I knew in terms of prep in like 30 days. It was like a serious boot camp with a huge language barrier between us. But yes, but we got it done, and I learned a lot. And then I went to work on cruise ships. I worked in other restaurants. It wasn't until I got off of the cruise ship, maybe 4 years later, that I went to culinary school. And during school, I got an internship at the Food Network. Now, prior to that, I was like, okay, I'll open a restaurant or work in a restaurant. The dream, right? The dream that they tell you should be dreaming. But when I got to the Food Network and started doing food television, I fell in love. Like, I was like, I'm home. This is it. No weekends, no nights. Pay is pretty good. You get to see your work immediately. And then I just never looked back. Like,
did you have media training at that point, or you just be yourself?
No, I had no media training. I mean, other than interning at the Food Network, and then they do hire you as freelance after, but I didn't even know, like, when I got in there and saw the things that they were doing, I was like, this is how it's done, I was like, this is
magic of TV.
Yeah, it's what I want to do, I fell in love immediately.
So how did you arrive in Boston? I think there's a little detour to Brooklyn.
Yes.
What brought you to Boston? And thank you for coming. What brought you to Boston? What brought you to ATK? What's that story?
ATK actually brought me to Boston.
Thank you.
I know, I'm very grateful, very grateful. I mean, I was freelancing in New York and I was doing really well. Like, I finally started to find my footing in New York, and I was living where I wanted to
Place
live.
to find your footing, right?
It can be. It can be. It wasn't easy. It did take some years. Like, I've been there almost a decade before
Okay.
I finally could stand on my own. But it was really interesting because in all the years that I've been there working, I found myself at some point in the year with like no work. Like, I usually would have work booked out months in advance. It was January. Was it January? January, and I had no work booked. I was panicking.
Right.
I had just enough money to get me probably to the top of spring, and I didn't know what was going to happen. And
That freelancer life, right?
that freelancer life,
Yeah.
ooh wee,
Yeah.
and I don't miss it.
There's some freelancers here.
Yeah, it's challenging. And so I remember sitting in my living room and I prayed a prayer and I said, God, I don't know what you have in store for me, but I will get out of your way, and whatever you have for me, I will do. About a week later, a friend tagged me in a Facebook post that was a casting call. Didn't say who it was for. It was a blind call. All it said specifically was that they wanted a woman of color. And I was like, got that. And I need work, so that works out. That checks. And so I responded to the casting call. The casting agent called me back. I did a few, this is dating it, but I did some Skype interviews. And I know, right? Pre-Zoom. Pre-Zoom. I did some Skype interviews, and they asked me to come to New England to audition. And I remember the producer calling me on the phone, and it's a whole nother part of the story that I was in New Orleans when the casting agent called, and she was like, I've been trying to reach you. Call me back. They really like you. And I had been working in production at this point in New York. Yeah, so I knew they really like you. It means they just want you to do more interviews. So I was dodging that. No, they want more interviews. But she said, I promise this is not another interview, but call me back. So I remember I called my mom and I was like, I don't even want this job.
You had no idea.
I had no idea,
Right.
but just like, what kind of bratty stuff is that? I don't want this job.
And you had no work.
No work. I'm in New Orleans, living it up, right? No work. And so I came home, I didn't call. She finally called me again and she was like, okay, go to the camera right now. And I'm like, I don't have any makeup. I don't care, go to the camera. We did another interview. They asked me to come here. I came, first she was like, have you ever heard of America's Test Kitchen? And I was like, excuse me? Yeah? And she's like, yeah. So I came down, I did the interview. It went well. I went back to Brooklyn. And maybe 2 or 3 days later, they called and told me that if I wanted the job, I could have it, but I had to leave Brooklyn. So I was like,
Boston.
and moved to Boston. I had never.
Another big B.
It wasn't even. It was not even a B in my vocabulary. It was not. It was not. I have to be honest. I was like, I never would have put that on the list of
As
places.
in Brookline.
Yes.
The other B.
The other B. I stayed here in Brookline. I had to commute for a month,
Gotcha.
and I stayed here in Brookline. And I was like, this is pretty cool. I like it. I like it here. The job was nice. The people were warm and welcoming, and so I said yes, and the rest is history.
Well, welcome to Boston.
Well, thank you.
Several
8 years later,
Right,
right?
perfect. So you're on TV talent or on camera talent, you're doing work, but I've realized, so I've known Elle for a little bit, your work has shifted into editorial. Is your second
Yes.
book? The first one, I'm blanking, Boards, it's on my thing,
Yes.
Boards. It came out in the 2020s, so it's right when, life was not exactly outside.
It was a pandemic, baby. Yes,
Yeah.
it was. Yes, it was.
So I'm super honored that we're able to really give the love that this one deserves.
you.
We give love to that one too, but let's dive into this book.
Okay.
Love. So Food Gifts. What I found, and those who haven't yet had a copy, this is not a soft sell, it's a very hard sell. You have to get this book, right? So I was diving into it, and the first thing I recognized, so I do some food stuff, I don't call it stuff, but the beauty and the craftsmanship and the organizing, I didn't realize there were gadgets and things and thought
Yeah.
Talk about your work in food styling and when it arrived at this beautiful, thoughtful concoction of how to gift food.
Well, I think it's important to know that this second book, we wanted this second book to be a good follow-up for the first book, you know, and even though boards was essentially about boards, it was kind of like our first attempt at doing something that was primarily visual, right? And like visual first, food second, which is not common for America's Test Kitchen. We're very food forward.
Recipe,
Yes.
text and science.
Yes,
Yep.
yes, but this time we were like, let's see what we do, what can happen if we can entice people with visual, right,
Right.
aesthetics. And so we were like, these two books need to be a pair of sorts. And so, and then also I am a food stylist, so
Right.
everything I approach, I'm approaching it with a food stylist eye, you know. But this book really came out of my love for potlucking. I grew up in a potluck family. And I think that was my first introduction of how food is given as a gift, right? Like everyone brought something for the collective, and if you were lucky, it was your favorite something, you know, like my grandmother's best friend, Aunt Loretta, used to make, she made multiple things well, but like her pound cake and her broccoli, rice, and cheese were what we really wanted. So when she brought those, I took it personal. Like, this is for
Pound cake and a tea towel
yeah.
tied at the top.
I
We have the
mean,
same aunt.
yeah, yeah.
Right, so I
Yeah.
think there's a formality about how you gift, but you take it to a different level. I want to talk a little bit about some of the gadgets. There's twine, there's a paper bag, there's a mason jar. There's just like, and I also see sustainability, like you're reusing things.
Yes.
You know, you'll definitely get the book and you'll see, but kind of talk to some of your favorite tools that may allow us, the lay folk, to arrive at a beautiful setting, for example, or gift easier.
I mean, my favorite tool is definitely just like the reusable mason jar, right? Like I save all the jars. If I can get the labels off,
Yeah.
I'm using that jar, you know? So, I mean, that's always a very easy, you can use it for dry goods, for cookies, you can actually do some canning with them, you know? It's an easy go-to. You can put a ribbon on it and call it a day, right? It's the most practical way to get it.
So, Griffin, thanks for that. The way the book, I read the organization here is not quite so, you know, recipe focused as you mentioned before.
Right.
It's mood, it's theme, it's Sunday breakfast. One of my favorite ones right now is like Sunday breakfast. So really speaking to how you gift and how you use the gift. What's the thought behind how you organized this book?
We organized the book in a way that, as we did with boards, categorically, with kind of maybe thinking about the occasions in which one would give a gift, right? Like my favorite chapter is the meal train, right?
To post, I don't know, having a human, buying a dog, anything.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
Yeah.
The meal train is important to me because when I was diagnosed with ovarian cancer in 2016, everyone from America's Test Kitchen brought food to the house for myself and my
pause for a
family.
second.
Yeah.
You had 80K member chefs per
Oh yeah, for my whole family, at home. I mean, you name it, they brought
That
it.
must have been amazing.
It really was, especially at a really difficult time, you know, when you really
Helped by your
want,
colleagues.
yes, with good
Yeah,
food, with good food. And so the meal train is important, right? Because it usually comes at a time where the necessity is large, right? Like you just moved into a home, your pantries are bare, right? Someone bringing you some jars of soup or something that you don't have to cook, right? Because you don't have anything. You know, like the meal train is the lifesaver, right? It's the lifeline of the food gift. Yeah.
And I'm seeing here options for how to freeze, for example, to reheat.
Yeah.
You've really gone through the detail of not just sending the gift or receiving the gift, but how then to utilize the gift to maintain either freshness or make sure it does well with the home, the family.
Yeah.
Thank you. The other piece I kind of like dove into was really about your tips and tricks, not just for storage, but also for maintaining a stash of items, right? You're invited to a last minute birthday on the spot.
Yes.
What are you grabbing from where?
Okay, so last minute birthday, I probably would use one of a million scarves that I have and like wrap up that food item and for a cocky way,
Yeah.
right? And give it like that. Also, I just recently collected a plethora of gift bags. So everyone's gonna be getting their food gift in a gift bag.
Gifted, right?
Yes.
Gifted.
Some specific people probably more than others.
I think this audience knows.
Yes.
Okay, great.
But those sorts of things, when you get good gifts, you have a tendency to hold on to some part of that gift, right? And then it turns into another part of the gift for someone else.
We haven't talked this in detail, but definitely we'd love to hear the audience if they have thoughts or questions for Elle. That's completely okay.
Yeah.
Folks have thoughts. Because I want to hear those from the audience, those who already have the books, maybe there's a thought you have. But tell us a little bit more. So, birthday gifting, for example. For me, transporting things sometimes can be challenging.
Yeah.
So I'll make the most beautiful, I think, thing. And then you get there and the icing is on the side. It's like buying all the cake holders.
Right.
Does anyone feel that pain? How do you what are some of the tips off the bat, tips, tricks to get that beautiful thing you made to the place without pausing outside and going, shh?
Little things like popcorn. You can use popcorn. You can Ziploc bag you some popcorn and put them around your cake if you need to. You can also anchor your pie, because you can buy these like pie carriers, but there's always a little bit of space around the edges, right?
I have bought the carriers.
Yeah, like put some paper in there, because you can take that out once you get to your event. You can put a dish towel in there, anything that just
some buffering.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I have a lopsided cake.
Yeah. I also ship a lot of things, so I keep foam, that little, which is terrible for the environment.
The foam pellets.
Don't buy those. But if someone sent you something with those, save them and then you can use them again.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. We're in New England, and you're a New Englander now.
Yes.
So we know that seasonality is important for us. I'm a tomato girl. So summertime, are you pickling? Are you jamming? How are you thinking about maintaining fresh produce or trying to maintain some of that summer bounty?
I have to be honest with you. I'm not a jammer or pickler.
Jammer.
Those are the kind of gifts I like to receive. But I do think about storage when I'm baking things, right? So again, I use these mason jars. I use a lot of airtight containers. I'm very conscious about food storage containers in general. Most of the ones we have at home are glass. Right. So I try to do that. I try not to use plastic. Try to make sure that they seal tightly so that if I do make something that has a long life, I can keep it so it's as airtight, because I do get gifts like that, and I want to keep them as fresh as possible. So just be aware, you can get good things at BJ's or, some really good containers there, but that's important.
And how are you thinking about the receiver? So some folks, I know there are lots of audience, for example, kind of thinking through how would you perhaps guide someone in being thoughtful about how the recipient?
Yeah.
Are you blindly going? Are you profiling that person?
I'm totally profiling.
Yeah.
Totally profiling.
Okay.
I like to give.
Size me up.
Yeah, I like to give gifts that are very specific. I don't want to leave it to chance, because also what's the point of giving such a crafted gift if it's just something that you could give to anyone, right? The point of
Being
it,
thoughtful.
yeah, the point of it, and the point of the whole book is to show you ways to give personalized
It says
gifts.
personalized, yep.
That's really the point of it all. I want you to know that this is for you, not because your name is on the card, but because when you open it, you're like, she knows I love this. And not only did she give me that, she gave me all the ways in which I can enjoy it, right? One of my favorite gifts in the book is the stuffed shells, right? Because the stuffed shells, it's in a disposable container, or we'll call it a reusable container, right? You can freeze it, or you can cook it immediately. We wrap it in an apron, so the apron is the gift. In the pockets, we put cheese grater, cheese, and a little basil, right? So everything you need to complete the meal is right there.
And also cheese, it's a microplane.
It's a microplane.
So there's some, I mean, you have a box grater, but you want
Yes.
that restaurant quality cheese.
That's
And
right.
You've been so thoughtful, there's a microplane.
Yeah.
And good cheese.
I mean, and that is an example of a gift you probably could give anyone and they would be really happy to have it. But to someone who maybe just had surgery, you know, or a birthing person just had a child, right, and they don't have the time or the energy to cook something, it's very thoughtful to give something that really only requires the work of turning on the oven and putting on the apron and grating the cheese.
I think we can great cheese.
Yeah.
I think we can great cheese. This particular chapter, so again, pausing if there are questions, definitely open to hearing, you know, questions or thoughts. But because I'm on Facebook with you, I know you spent some time in Italy.
Yes.
And there's this entire section called On the Italian Sun. Love the title. Take us about your journey. I mean, you're pulling inspiration from your travels, from what you've done. How are you, I guess, Italian food is ubiquitous, it's about everywhere. How do you personalize such a common or well-known cuisine? How are you personalizing this, pulling from your experience as well?
Well, I fell in love with the simplicity of Italian food, like sauces. Like, I love sauces. One sauce, 7 pastas, that's 7 different dishes to me. But like, I went to Italy to study San Marzano tomatoes, right? And so, the quick story behind San Marzano tomatoes is that it's an heirloom tomato, and in that the families that grow them have been growing them for hundreds of years. And you actually have to be a part of the DOP, which is you know, basically an organization only for people who grow San Marzano tomatoes. You can't, if you're not San Marzano style, but San Marzano tomatoes, right? They in that city they have a statue of a San Marzano tomato. That's how real it is, right? And so, you know, so like when I'm thinking about if I'm going to gift someone something, I'm thinking about giving them like the most authentic, real deal, like close to you know, like very good heirloom tomatoes, very good San Marzanos. Like, I'm not going to just give you anything. I'm going to get real specific.
I love it, and I'm seeing tips for scoring tomatoes.
Oh yeah, scoring, how to make tomato sauce. I mean, let's not, you know, gifting is great, but like, there's nothing better than a recipe that is going to also translate well as a gift, right? And so part of the recipe selection for this book are recipes that we know as a company will do well as a gift, meaning like storage, shelf life, right? Quality of ingredients. We put a lot of time and thought into that.
Speaking to shelf life, the pantry. So I love that you started off with a pantry or a cupboard. Because pantry might be a place to walk into. A cupboard,
Right,
a place to store your food. I work in public health. I have to be conscious of equity, right?
Yes.
So you have a place to store your food. What are some of the, I mean, you probably have your oils and your canned goods, whatever. Like, how may I complement my grocery shopping on a regular basis with some items I can pick up that might translate well for a gift? Because I am that person who has an invite for 3 months, and the day of the event, I have a gift bag against a wall trying to write something in the pharmacy trying to, am I the only person in the pharmacy trying to find something?
I'm usually
What
in
if
the car.
what if my pantry had some extras that I could pull from? What would that look like?
Well, you travel a lot like I do, and when I'm traveling, I try to pick up things like dried pastas, tinned fishes, right, sardines, truffle oils. You never know, right? You never know when you're gonna get invited. Truffle oils, things that I think are exquisite. Dried meats, right, that can last a very long time until whatever gift opportunity pops up.
And you're holding on to them.
I'm always holding on to them. Like, our cupboard is full of
You can say pantry.
things. I don't. It's a tall cupboard
Got you.
with lots of things that could potentially, you know, be gifts. I'm always thinking of food gifts to give and things I can build on. Like, if I have a good bag of pasta, I might feel a little bit more inclined to make a good tomato sauce, even though that's
To complement that good
yeah,
pasta. Okay.
yeah.
So I'm hearing you're having your stash of mason jars.
Yes.
You now have a stash of gift bags from folks.
Yes.
You're grabbing things as you're traveling, and then you're thinking about the person.
Yes.
So you have your tools, you have your person, and you have some complementary items, and you're rounding those out.
Yeah.
Right. We have a formula of sorts, right?
That's
we have
right.
us our formula.
That's right.
Again, I do want to open up for questions or thoughts. Yes, I appreciate you.
I have a question.
Go
Yes.
for it.
Is
Oh.
there a mail that you thought about putting in the book? You said, nah, I'm not gonna put it in the book. And so, what is that meal?
What an excellent question.
That is a good question. What is a meal? Okay, what didn't make it to the book, and my colleague Adam is here, and I think this was like one of our first conversations we had about the book. I wanted to put desserts from, like, I have friends from all over the world, right? And when I was in college, a lot of my friends were from the Caribbean. And their parents would send care packages with all these like amazing dessert things.
Coconut themed.
All of that. And I was like, I want to put like a chapter of all of these desserts, like from St. Croix, from the Bahamas, from all those islands. I wanted to add a chapter of desserts from the Caribbean because I think that those are so very special. So if I had to say there was anything that didn't make it to the book that I wish had, I think that would be it.
Oh man.
Yeah, I know. Next time.
Okay, great.
We'll put it in the third book.
Ooh, I like
Put it in the
that.
third book.
Go ahead, please. Great question. Thank you.
Do you make pastas fresh from scratch?
Ooh.
I have a pasta maker.
You asked the wrong
So I have the ability to do it. I do know how to make pasta dough, and I have made raviolis when I was back in my private chef days. I used to make raviolis from scratch. But yes, I do make pastas from scratch. Yes.
Makes a great gift. Homemade, literally homemade pasta.
Well, like
Thank you.
Ashley
Yes.
said, she said she went to Italy. For
Yes.
those of us who had an option to go to Italy, their pasta
Outstanding.
is very
Yes.
delicious than what we get over here.
It's true. Their pizza is really different too. Like our pizzas are way slathered in sauce, and they literally put like a tablespoon of sauce on the pizza. It's very, very different.
Thank you.
Yeah.
There's another hand. I'll make some more space. Oh, I don't know. I'm looking at you. I thought your hand was up, but it's not.
You can ask me
Oh,
anything.
yeah, go for it.
Hi, Denise.
So, I haven't been to the book yet. What would you do if you have a last minute idea to give somebody a gift like tomorrow?
Okay.
It sounds personal.
So I don't know them, like I don't know them very well, but it's a volunteer relationship. So I've never had lunch with them. I don't
Okay.
know what they eat. I don't know dietary restrictions. But I don't have time to cook anything. But I want to do something personal, something nice. But what would you recommend to put together? And it's a meal
Okay.
that you think would go across the board and cover those options, like I don't know what they like,
Yeah.
I don't know if they have time to cook.
Okay.
One, I don't know like if they have sweets, because that's the one that I kind of guess that they may not be able to have a lot of sugar.
A lot of sugar.
This section is called Ask Elle.
Ask me.
It's a new section. Ask Elle.
I think you could make spice blends. You could do spice blends, and then you could throw in like just some popcorn kernels in there because spice blends could work with popcorn, or they could put it on meat if they wanted to. But I think like a neutral gift that someone would enjoy would be like spice rubs.
Everybody needs spices
Yep.
at some point.
We even have like a spice nuts. I mean, which could be tricky if people have nut allergies, but any type of spice blends.
You already got me.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Popcorn,
Good.
nuts, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
A
What
vegan.
about a vegan?
A vegan. I love you call them a vegan.
Uh,
A special class. The vegan. Oh, you are the vegan.
You are the vegan. He's the vegan.
Okay. In our next section of Ask Elle, how a vegan.
Let's see. Vegan. Well, we do have. I wonder if we have any vegan recipes in the book. But, okay, so we do have in the book. You might like this. There's a dried lentil soup. Right. So all you have to do is get the dry ingredients and you pour them in a jar, and all you have to do is add hot water. So that's a nice vegan. Now it depends on like when I know that there's a possibility of dietary I don't like to call them restrictions. I don't think vegans are restricted preferences,
Thank you.
right?
Okay.
Dietary preferences, I tend to lean towards things like tea baskets, right? You can make dry blend teas, right, out of fresh fruit. You can make simple syrups that can go in that tea, right? Mint simple syrup. Things, things that are a little bit more, like generically excessive, if they're a tea drinker. And if they're not a tea drinker, they can also use that simple syrup in a cocktail.
Right. That's great.
He doesn't drink either. Oh, he's a good vegan. He's a vegan. Okay.
My whole life changes when he comes.
I have a vegan mac and cheese recipe that I will make sure that you get that everybody loves. And unless you tell them it's vegan, they never know. So I'll make sure you get that.
Yeah? Okay. Okay. There are some crackers mixed in here, there's a hummus, there are a few things in here.
Yeah, it's quite a few things. I try to make sure that because I grew up Seventh-day Adventist, and there are a lot of vegetarians and vegans within that spiritual practice.
Absolutely.
And so I try to make sure that my book covers a little something for everybody. Every book covers something for everybody.
Well, I had a smooth segue into cocktail party, but then
Okay.
we went towards 7 days, now okay.
Let's do it.
So the so the after party.
Mhm.
So you've done the pantry, we have our goods, we have our thoughtful cocktail. I mean, how are we thinking about bringing the party to a party? Syrups, like how are you thinking through that?
Well, I think one of the things is sometimes when cocktails come into play, you're probably going to a party where people have been assigned to bring something in particular,
Yeah.
right? So if you're bringing the cocktail to the party, chances are they're expecting you to bring everything that is needed for that said cocktail. So, like why not make a basket of it, I mean, I'm just the kind of person, like, I don't want to bring something and then somebody's like, well, who has the straws?
We have no lines.
Yeah, because they're always supposed to bring the lines. Yeah.
And
So
so midnight, you're trying to go to the grocery store to find, not midnight, corner store to
yeah,
find lines.
no, I
Sounds
want to.
familiar? Trying to find lines on a Sunday at 9.
That's not me. If someone asks me to bring the
So you're
cocktails,
thinking
I'm
through the
bringing the
entirety
cocktails.
off from scratch,
Yes.
right? So the mixes, the syrup,
Yes.
just the ice. The only thing you're not taking is your own ice.
I mean, I probably would bring the ice.
Okay.
I probably would bring the ice.
Super thorough, super
Yeah.
thorough. All right. Well, Elle, I'd love to kind of think through, again, this book, guys, I'm not just saying this, but again, it's really one of those thoughtful, everybody can find their way in here some way. These don't need to be gifts. These can also just be how you arrange quick mixes for
Yeah.
yourselves, if you're hosting family members.
For sure.
If you had one in here at oatmeal, say a person's having like a wedding or a large event and they're the host,
Yeah.
and they're already busy, you're bringing breakfast to them, right?
Yes.
How thoughtful is that?
Yes.
And that also ensures that you're fed.
That's right. That's right. I mean, and these do make great gifts, but they also make great centerpieces, for your
Right.
table. You're having some people over, you can put it in the middle of the table and, people can make their own cocktails. So many of these things are great for just like a self-service experience in your home. It's not limited to giving it away.
And the
Sometimes
summer is
we are
upon
the
us.
gift. Yeah.
So summertime, for those of us do outdoor dining, I think there are lots
Yeah.
of thoughtful ways to arrange your outdoor dining,
Mhm.
in baskets or in containers. That way you have all the pieces you need.
I mean, the coolers, we tell you like the best cooler to use are winning. I don't know if a lot of you are completely familiar with the brand at America's Test Kitchen, but one of the more popular things that we do is that we test products, and we are not paid to do it. So whatever product is the winning product is literally that, because it is the superior product. And it's not always the highest price point. Sometimes it's that $12 pan, right? So we also express that in this book, like,
Yes.
what are the best coolers to use? What are the best shakers to use? All of that information is in this book. Like, we want you to be 100% confident and successful in the gifts that you give beyond the food piece, like in totality. Is the food good? Yes. Is the equipment good? Yes. Is it gonna be a quality gift? Absolutely. Will you have to spend a lot of money to do that? No.
As usual, there's conversion in here. if folks do care about calories, they're also offering that information.
Yes.
And I love the imagery as usual, like you're canning.
The food styling, you like
Oh.
it?
I use the wrong language. The food styling, not the imagery. Definitely shows you step by step. I think in a very approachable way.
Yes.
So you're seeing how things are assembled, and then you're seeing the final product. So definitely a amazing product. Congratulations.
Thank you. We're just trying to make more confident cooks, you know. We're trying to make home cooks much more confident. We teach you how to roll the babka bun, everything, every step you could possibly think. Every step, I've done it in the book. Those are my hands doing every single step.
There are, yeah.
So I've done it. I wouldn't give it to you if I had not done it myself.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
No, this question is not my favorite, but I do want to ask, like, if you had a favorite per se, or a fun, like section or recipe that really just stands out for you. It doesn't need to be a favorite, just stand out for you.
Let me see. What's a standout recipe? I think I like the coquito recipe, and it seems simple, but I miss New York a lot, you know, and one of the things I loved about working in food was during the holidays, you get these holiday specific gifts, right?
Somebody's nana.
Everybody's abuela feels they make the best coquito, and so I'm happy to be the judge of all 7 of those.
You'll volunteer.
Yeah, so I have like coquito for the entire winter, and it's one of my favorite holiday drinks. So I think I enjoyed that the most because it was so nostalgic for me. You know, it just took me back to like those hard New York winters when all I had was coquito in my fridge.
Open up for any last questions before we? Yes, please.
Hi.
As a food stylist, can you tell us more about the cover and what you were communicating? It's very beautiful.
Thank you. The cover itself took, I feel like in total like 4 days to shoot the cover. We played around with a lot of different cover ideas. Essentially, I wanted to be on the cover of this book, right? Because I'm like, sometimes as Black women, we struggle with visibility, right, in our work. And I voiced that concern, you know, like I want people to know that a Black woman is behind this work in this book.
Right.
And I don't think anyone had to convince me to change it. I think I was just open to the idea of seeing other things on the cover. And the board's book has such a beautiful cover, and people really, really loved it so much that I thought, after deeper thought, I wanted to be consistent with imagery, right? Like that is important to me. Continuity is important to me. And so after we took like 2 days of taking pictures of me, and some I thought were cute and some I did not, you know how it goes. We did some photos of food and baskets, and myself and Lindsay Chandler, who is an extremely talented artist in her own right. She's like a fashionista at work as well. We worked on this cover together, and when it finally came together and we got this final photo, we were like, this is it.
Yeah.
This is the cover, right? Like this is what it's supposed to look like. And I feel like it fully this does represent me. This is all of my styling. This is the way I would have wanted it to be. We played around with composition a lot, but essentially we were like, this is it, you know? And sometimes you just know. Like in food styling, you just know. Yeah, you look at it and you're like, this is what I want it to look like. And also, I mean, I'm not food,
No,
right? Like I wanted to. It says food gifts, and I wanted it to sell a food gift, right? So,
Technically speaking.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Great. Thank you. Thanks for the question.
yeah.
Yes. Hi, how
Hi.
are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. So we have boards and we also have food gifts. What can we look forward to that's on the horizon? I'm hoping to get like a little inside scoop.
I just woke up from the nap. We just got here. I don't know, but I will say that there will be another book. That we do know that for sure, right? You can say that? Yeah, one more, at least one more. Come on.
Is there a decision maker in the room?
Yes.
Okay.
The fearless leader of our books team is here. His name is Adam. He's brilliant.
Oh, that's Adam.
That's Adam. Yes.
Hey, Adam.
He's Adam is very brilliant. He's very creative. We've worked together. Well, I've been there 8 years. He's been there longer, but it speaks volumes to work with him because he really takes the time to hear my thoughts. And I think he knows me pretty well. I mean, we don't talk a lot. He's kind of a soft-spoken guy, but
He can make it.
yeah, he could make me good. He's super creative, and that team puts out a lot of really good books a year. And so we sat in a flour bakery, and early in the morning, about 7:30 a.m., and we came up with the ideas of this book together, and he really helps to spark my creativity. Yeah, so I'm very fortunate to have worked with a great team on this book. Great team. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, those are questions for me. I'd love to, is there anything you wanted to share about just this book or where you are that I haven't asked you yet? Closing thoughts.
My closing thoughts. Please buy the book.
That's
and buy it for others.
Yeah.
Of course, come here to Brookline Booksmith if this is your local source, but also please feel free to purchase on Amazon and leave a review. The reviews are very helpful. And I hope you enjoy it, I hope it inspires you to think about food as a gift, before anything else. And I poured my heart and soul into this book, and I'm very, very proud of it. And thank you. Thank you for coming, thank you for listening, thank you for supporting. So many of you pre-ordered,
Great.
and so I'm really, really grateful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. For being here, for being in conversation. Again, nothing more needs to be said. The book is divine. I've been going through it, and I have a few points for it. So, thanks for being here. Thank you.
Thank you, Tamika. I appreciate it.